Welcome to this episode of Implementing Best Practice in Business. We're here to help you and your organisation understand and implement global best practice to help you face the business challenges of today. Join me, Richard Pharro, CEO of APMG International, in talking to leaders and practitioners who have applied these frameworks and practices to boost their productivity. They're here, willing to share their knowledge and experience to help you learn from them so you can do the same to make you more competitive in today's market. Today's guest, Andreas Trautner, is a man who seems to have lived 1,000 lives. Fueled by curiosity after being a lumberjack, fisherman and managing Denmark's largest music festival, he went on to earn his PhD in agriculture and has recently written his project management story and published it as The Six. His first role as a program manager was a complete failure. In his own words, project management is a craft, and he was a poor craftsman. Join us as Andreas recalls that eureka moment of realising that the mindset of the project team is so important in how we manage projects, to instinctively knowing when the planning is done and projects are good to start. Welcome, Andreas.
Thank you so much, Richard.
So, Andreas, what were you doing then before you came into program project management? What are traditional craft type skills in Scandinavia?
I was doing 2 years as a sergeant in the army. I was not really a good student. I wanted to see the world also. So I went into the army. After that, I went into the Faroe Islands to fish because I thought that would be a challenge. I was like, what would that be like? My father is a medical doctor and my mother is a nurse, so I had no background. And that I did for a couple of years. It was very exciting. I really enjoyed it. And then I started my education, you might say that. I just had 1 year of being a lumberjack in Norway, northern part of Norway, also because I was curious, what is it like to be there? And then I started in agriculture. And I was not a really good student. So after 1 year, so 1.5, I went to a professor and said, listen, I would like to do some research. Anything I can help you with? And he said, yeah. So I did that for 1 year. I got a laboratory and set that up and did that. And then I asked the professor again, you know what? I'm ready for the next thing. Do you know any science projects abroad maybe? And he said, yeah, well, we have this project in Sweden, looking at soil compaction, how the soil is interacting with the tire and so forth. And that just started, and it's a brand new thing. And that was in 96. And then I stayed there for 7 years and did my thesis on soil and tire interaction.
And then you went into program project management, and you said your first one was a failure.
Yeah, it was. 2003 I started at Danisco, being a consultant in soil and sugar beets. And then I did the mistakes of studying for an MBA. First of all, I didn't really like it because I'm not a good student. And second, headquarter heard about it. And so they thought it was a brilliant idea to promote me to project manager. Basically, it wasn't. But for me, it was very good because that defined the next almost 20 years of 18 years of my life. I went into this project with a firm belief that this was going to be a fantastic ride. And it was it was about SAP. I was trying to implement SAP in 4 different countries. It was quite a journey, and that was in 2005. In 2007, I had completely failed with it, and I became very ill from that experience. But I was curious about what happened. I was also very angry. I was angry, and I was also hurt, and I was confused about what happened because I had a PhD. I've been working in Roskilde Festival with projects, so I didn't understand what had gone wrong. So I Googled project management. And the first thing coming up was Prince 2. This is in 2007. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. It was quite expensive. I went for the foundation and practitioner at a Hotel Prinsen in Roskilde, actually. And I paid for that myself. I think it was something like, 4,000 quid or something. I went there and I remember I got the book and I opened the book. I sat down with a cup of tea and I opened the book. And it just didn't speak to me. I couldn't get into it. I didn't understand what the book was telling me, where do you start? Where do you end? What is all this? The practitioner was not a good experience. Okay, I didn't know exactly. I didn't know what was going on. So I just and then, but there was something there. I remember I took the train back to Copenhagen. I remember thinking, there's something. This is great. I should have known this from the beginning. This is great. There's something there. I think the organization, the business case especially. So I knew I wanted to have this. I wanted to have Prince 2, right? I wanted to be good at it. And I was contemplating how can I be good at this? And then Rosing Management called me. And because I used to be a trainer at the university, they say, listen, Andreas, why don't you become a Prince 2 trainer for us? And I thought immediately, yes, because when you train in things, you also practice it, right? And that was 2008. So that was when the whole journey started, and I was more and more curious. And as you know, you had a lot of other products. MSP was there. MOV came later. Management of portfolios, MOR. I had to have it all, right? And then I also met Richard, your name brother, Richard Morris. So he was also important for my journey because I met him. I called him because of his Principoly game, and he came to Copenhagen, and we had a straw in Copenhagen, and he started. So Andreas, what are the activities in SP? The SP activity. He just drilled me, and I realized that there was a level to this that I needed to go to. He just knew it all by heart, He just knew it all, and it was like I was annoyed because I didn't know it. Okay. But I was also impressed, and he showed me where the bar should be.
But interesting though, Andreas, I mean, your SAP implementation that went wrong, and you reflected upon that, and clearly that made you ill because of the stress. I mean, the methodologies are all process-based, and yet you say the problem is people. Could you just take us through that journey from, okay, I understand process, but that's not the answer to it. I need all these other things.
So at the beginning, I went into the template. I took the template road. So I went that direction, but I couldn't really make it work. And then I had some luck. I had one of my friends was into lean, and I was into Prince 2. So we trained each other. And he said something that resonated with me. He said, it's about managing the process in the now, and the process is about people. And then I suddenly I realized, yes, project management is of course about people. It's about people collaborating, co-creating, pulling hard in the same direction to achieve project success and to win with the project and the organization. And the people part became a very important part of it. Also, I got that from Roskilde because I had a team. I was managing a team of 25 people. Volunteers. So the people part has been a part of me all the time. So that really clicked. Then I looked into understanding why I failed. I needed to go into how did I fail. And it became clear to me that my failure curve was very, very steep. At the beginning, there was not much activity. And then the activity and the stress increased and increased until something broke down, and that was me. Then I ran another project for an oil organization in the oil industry, Welltech, and I did it with the Prince 2. It was a completely different ride. There was a lot of activity at the beginning, and then it became quiet. So instead of being quiet and becoming very noisy, it was very noisy, and then it became quiet. Because as I began to give the work orders to my team, they knew what to do. We had rehearsed the project through planning. We had made all the important agreements about benefit, cost, disbenefit, risk, scope, quality, time. We knew what to do. I set it up correctly. And so I thought about, so what went wrong? And it dawned on me that I didn't spend enough time to manage the uncertainties. I didn't have the skills for managing them. And the uncertainties is the generic uncertainties in planning, in business cases, and so forth. I couldn't do that. So we had a lot of uncertainties lying around, small embers in the forest. And they became bigger problems, bigger fires, and exploded into crisis. So,
so Andreas, you had a very, very interesting expression there, and I've never heard it before. And that is, you rehearsed the project through planning.
Yeah.
How much effort did you put into planning? In those days when you were trying these ideas, so you got the templates, but the templates are refined. You're working with the team. That concept of let's rehearse it before we do it is quite an interesting one. So how long did you take? Because you must have become comfortable that you had the uncertainties under control before you launched.
It's interesting because if you have failed with a project, you don't want to do that again. There's no way that you are going on to this blood red journey. There's no way you want to go there because it's not very nice. So I sat down with my team. I said, okay, so we have this project. We have this horrible 50 pages of specifications that one engineer agreed with somebody else and what's up and down. And it was just the whole thing, if the PBD, it was a quality expectation. It was method. It was tolerances. It was the whole thing. Said, no, we need to figure out. So I sat down and we went through the lines one by one by one. And it took a couple of months to do that. It was a big project. It was a new project, inventing something called a well annular barrier. But we sat down and we understood the requirements. And we did exactly as described in Prince 2. It was a quality review. So twice a week or 3 times a week, we sat down and I had a question list. And next time we started over. And then at some point, we were finished, and we all knew that we were finished. And that's an interesting thing. I had a friend that was an artist, a painter, and he was painting abstract paintings. And I was at his workshop, and there was some paintings standing to the left and some to the right. And I said, so what's the deal here? Oh, those paintings I'm working on, and these are finished. And I looked at them and I could see no difference because I'm an ignorant, okay? So, but that was no different. And I said, so these are finished? Yeah. I don't think so because I can take one of these and I can just put some more dots in it, some more paint in it, just like you have done. And then he said something interesting that I thought about but didn't use for 20 years. He said, no, Andreas. First of all, he laughed at me. You're a moron, Andreas. And then he said, you are noisy. You're making noise in my painting. You need to understand that when I paint, the painting closes itself to me. I cannot access it anymore. It's finished. It tells me now it's finished. If I try to do something, I'm making noise. And this is exactly how it feels to make a good business case. It's not noisy. It's elegant. It's just coherent. It's not noisy and clunky. And it tells itself it's ready. And that was the same with the PBD, and it's the same with the plan. Even if you could go on for longer time, people kind of sense that this is it. Now we know what to do. And it's something about gut feel. It's something about people again. It's something about communication, sitting down and stitching out clear agreements across the stakeholder landscape.
And I mean, I think I can relate to that. You do reach a point on any program, any project, where you think we need to take some time up front discussing. In fact, I'm involved in a project at the moment where the last 2 meetings we've been discussing what it is we should be doing. And we seem to go further away from a solution, and then we come back closer to a solution. And there's this ebb and flow of the people within the team. And you know that you can't rush it. You know that you can't say, we've had enough. But you sense that we're getting closer to that conclusion. So as you say, it's a very fluffy, variable activity. But internally you think, this is working. And I know that sooner or later we're going to say, right, we've now got it. We now actually understand what it is we're trying to do. And I do think this whole concept of project startup, giving yourself enough time to go through those processes and that clarity before you press the button and do work is so important. So Tell me about the six. What is the six? Why is it called the six? What are the six?
The six is something I had to do. It has been an obsession for me to understand projects. So 19, I sat down. I spent 1.5 years full time doing this. Then I realized that I should just tell my story about it, and not be clever, not try to be clever. It's very easy to read. It's a very personal book, and I'm very proud of it from that perspective. Very early on, I understood that the mindset of the paradigm, how we think about things, is very important for how we manage the projects. And I could see that there are two dominating mindset, where the technology focus is the most dominating mindset I've seen. And it's about people just starting things because they like a technology, they want a thing, they want the output. And I realized that a project, and that was the first thing, the project, we needed to redefine the project. I looked into methodologies, how they explain project management, what a project is, and I found many different ways of defining a project. So I thought a lot about it, and then I came up with, a project is an investment in change. And from there, everything evolves. And that's the mindset of it. That's one of the 6 parameters. And this is why it's called the 6. There's 6 parameters. Yeah. And the last parameter I added was a commitment. You got to want to succeed. That's so important. You got to want to succeed. I was working as a consultant for 4 months in an organization, and they didn't want to succeed. And we kept doing these Scrum sprints, 8 of them, for 4 months, and we produced nothing because people just didn't care. And and I had to resign. I said, I cannot do it. I cannot do it because people don't want this. I don't know what you're doing. So then it became the 6, commitment, the willpower to do something.
That's very interesting, because you probably know Antonio Rodriguez. Yeah, he's written a recent book on project management, and he talks about the project economy. One of the things that he says, I think it's in his blog, most organizations could stop 80% of their projects and you wouldn't notice. So he noticed the benefit because people have got more time to do other things. And so a lot of that must be about, do we really need this? Do we really want this? Or is it a nice to have, and let's make, to use your phrase earlier, let's make some noise about this. So is that something that you would agree with, that organizations have too many projects on the go, that actually there's not enough determination and willpower to make them a success, and therefore maybe they should look at them critically and cancel them?
Yeah. They should, and they should, and this is why investment focus is so important in projects, because a project, when you come up with it, when you have your change idea, it's set on the path to failure. There's so many things that can go wrong. So if you don't manage them, the likelihood of failing is so big, right? So you need to consider it an investment, and you need to configure. Okay, so we can say yes or we can say no. But we need to take all the consequences of yes and no. Here under the benefits and disbenefits, the cost, the time, but also the threats and opportunities. Those are very, very important, especially the threats. And we need to own them. If we say yes, we need to own them. We need to consider what is the likelihood of winning with this project. And we need to consider the full project value chain every time we do it. And not only stop at output, but over outcome, stable operation, and the benefits and achievement of strategic goals. We need to consider that, because let's face it, when we start a project, well, we are spending other people's money often, right? What you do with your money, you can do whatever you want, right? But here in this, I have to be careful. I have to be prudent with other people's money, and also, and this is important, when we start project here, we are working with other organization projects, solution projects. When we start a project, we put something on the line. We put our brand, our credibility. We put our funds. We put the customer relationship on the line. We put the team's well-being on the line, and also the customer business and customers' funds. So we owe it to ourselves to be careful with this, because this is on the line. We can lose that or we can build it. It's also an opportunity to increase the brand, to boost the brand, to strengthen the customer relationship, to help the customer succeed with his business. So this is investment focus. It's not about delivering something on budget and on time. It's about considering the full investment with all its disbenefits and benefits and threats and cost, and managing that. And that's project management.
And you're right. I think people forget that second half of the project value chain and say that's business as usual. That's not my responsibility. That's someone else's. But no, it's fascinating. But with all this experience and all this inward reflection as you've gone through your career, if you were giving some advice to a young Andreas starting out today and wanting to have a career in project management, what would be the three things that you would give to a young Andreas to make sure he had a less stressful first 20, 25 years of his project management experience?
The majority of organizations think that a project is about delivering something on time and cost, which is not. So that can cause a lot of frustration. So I would tell young Andreas, you need to take a choice and make a choice. You need to make a business case about it. There are benefits. There are good consequences, positive, but there are also negative consequences that you need to consider, Andreas. And maybe you should just be happy in whatever's going on and do the best you can. And that was part of the business case I didn't consider when I started. I didn't consider how much frustration there is in this. And then I would say, if you Andreas, choose to, and I think I will choose that you want to become a craftsman in this, you should study for it. You must want to have it, and you need to start remembering things like Richard taught me. You need to first remember it, to understand it, and then you will become it.
And your third piece of advice to the young Andreas?
Yeah, when you get there, you will find it. You'll find it worthwhile, because you can spend the rest of your life becoming better in this. You'll never really have to retire, because this will become a wonderful hobby. And there's so much need for people, skilled people in organizations, in every country, and there's a need for people. So you can have a wonderful life in this, going abroad, seeing and doing great projects.
Andreas, thank you very much. Fascinating. What a great insight into your career, your learning experience, your openness, your book, and indeed what the young project managers should think about. Many, many thanks for spending the time to talk to me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you for listening. We're always keen to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. You can find all the information in the show notes below. Please visit apmg-international.com to find out more about our accredited training and the certifications that support them that are related to the topics discussed in this series. I hope you've enjoyed today, and I look forward to you joining future episodes while we continue our exploration into best practice and the benefits it brings to global business. Thank you.